Well, thank you all for being here, taking time out of your busy schedules. Tonight is one of my favorite opportunities to meet with new people that have never heard about what we do and how we do it. And does it make sense? Is it right for you? Is it going to help? Is it going to send me to the poorhouse? All that fun stuff. We want to get all that good information to you so that you can make a well-informed decision. For those of you I haven't met before, my name is Dan Young. I'm a board-certified naturopath, have been since 2001. And tonight I'd like to give people just kind of a frame of reference of how this all got started, where we came from, why we're doing what we're doing. Does it make sense? Again, just really explore all of the important questions that people tend to have when it comes to their health. And more importantly, re-educate them about things that they thought might have something to do with their health, and it's proven, unfortunately, long term that it really doesn't. There's nobody in here that has a drug deficiency, I can assure you. So, in getting started as far as putting your health in order, in 1974, my grandfather had Parkinson's. He shook real bad in his right hand. He wasn't responding to Cinnamon, which is a neurotoxic medication that they were giving him at the time. It's still a drug that's in use today. And the problem with it is that he would take this medication, and I remember sitting at a kitchen table having breakfast with him, and he would literally shake like this, like a leaf, and almost pass out his eggs under the influence of these drugs. And the problem also was that when he came out from under the influence of this medication, one of the side effects is that the person can be disoriented and slightly aggressive, which was not a good combination considering my grandfather was 6'2", 240. My grandmother was about 5 foot nothing and about 10 soaking wet. So we were concerned that he might, accidentally harm her. And they kept messing around with these meds for about a year, and nothing ever gave him any real lasting results. And so about a year into this process, his primary care physician said, "Hey, we have this new and wonderful procedure," which is that's cute, run for the hills, right? I mean, when you hear new and wonderful procedure. And so they said, if you get this done, guaranteed he'll stop shaking. And so they took him to the hospital and they cut the nerves in his wrist and he quit shaking. Approved procedure, 1974. Right? If you don't have a symptom, you're healthy. So let's just get rid of the symptom and we don't have to worry about anything else. Just as long as you don't have a symptom, you're healthy. And that seemed to be the message very strongly in 1974. And what happened after that is his hand kind of atrophied. He couldn't use it at all after that. And so my father became very he became very positively motivated to find better answers for his family. Let's put it that way. And he started studying, looking into what could be done naturally with herbs and foods and things of that nature. And now we fast forward to 1983. His father's in a VA hospital in Oregon. He's on 12 medications. He's going in for his annual checkup, which he used to make as a joke to us kids. He would say, "Well, I get to go to the VA today. That's like giving my life twice for the same country." And we laughed. "Oh, Grandpa, you're so funny." But unfortunately, in his case, it turned out to be true because when they did his blood work, his titers for infection were elevated. His liver was basically, the term is torpid. It was struggling to process and keep things going. And so they said, "Well, you need to be admitted for observation," because he had emphysema. They thought it was on the spread, right? "You need to be admitted for observation." Key word being observation. And nobody observed the fact that he was allowed to lie in a hospital bed for 9 days, kept him on 12 medications with a liver that was already showing signs of shutting down, and he died from his own liver toxicity. And that's what happened to my other grandfather. And I'll bet if we go around the room to each one of you individually, you could share with me similar stories, right? That modern medicine, although in the emergency realm, it saves lives every moment of every day, nobody disputes that. But when it comes to the ability to resolve and restore function and handle chronic cases in a manner that the person loves the outcome, they're pretty much a miserable failure. We all have evidence of that. Or we wouldn't have a room full of people here tonight trying to find a different approach that's actually a solution rather than a Band-Aid. So that's kind of where we came from. In 1998 is when my father started. He was studying from 74 to 98 just to help take care of the family. And he started in Torrington, of all places. How many of you know where Torrington is? Okay. Well, heard of Torrington. And he started there in 1998. Then he moved another office up here in 2000. And in 2001, I joined him after I started going back to school and finishing up my degree. And I joined him in this office in 2001. This young lady right here used to be we called her air traffic control. You thought I forgot, huh? Air traffic control. We had on her business card it said ATC. That was her title, ATC. What does that stand for? Air traffic control. Because there was things going everywhere around here all the time in those days. And she literally helped me rebuild this practice from 2006 January until August of that year. And we actually went on a totally different trajectory, was able to develop a very high volume, low fee practice so we could help the masses restore and rebuild their health. So it's been an amazing journey. And my father's still alive. He started the clinic. He worked with me until 2005, right in 2005, early 2005. And he's retired, living in Oregon and running around in Birkenstocks and smells like herbs and, just having fun, enjoying retirement. So. And today, what's happened from those beginnings is that we see about 4,000 people a year come through our clinic from around the country. And as I mentioned earlier, we're also very blessed to help other practitioners to the degree that we can with our product line. We have an actual lab here that's governed by the state and federal agencies that oversee supplementation, development, and manufacturing and distribution. And it's what's happened for us in this little town has been amazing the last 20 years, and we're so grateful to be here. So that gives you kind of a frame of reference. One of the things that I always like to try to share with people is that I have my own personal definition of credibility. And I share that story with you for 5 or 10 minutes because my attitude is that the definition of credibility is results over time. If you can produce quality results over an extended period of time, then you have an opportunity to establish credibility in whatever you do. And so that's why I share that story with you. So tonight we're going to put your health in order. There's some factors that I want you to be aware of that you've heard the opposite of these things, okay? And really getting the best results possible with nutritional therapy and using natural, non-invasive approaches and modification of habits and things of that nature is really centered in really unlearning a lot of things that you think might be true, but you're starting to question, right? And you have evidence that maybe what we've been told for a long period of time about health is not entirely accurate. So here's some facts I want to share with you. First of all, if you don't believe you need to be harmed in order to be healed, you're in the right place. We're not going to do anything that's harmful. We don't even prick the finger for blood. So that's kind of nice. Fear is never part of a true wellness program or journey. Getting well should be happy, joyful, fun, filled with enthusiasm, right? You're getting healthy. You're improving your life. It should never be fear-driven. Well, if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen, right? Never fear-driven. That's not true wellness. Number 3, modern disease management does nothing to restore function, okay? Nutrition restores function. Drugs mask dysfunction, right? There's nothing in a drug that has a genuine replacement part to restore, rebuild, or repair the human body. Never has been, currently is not, nor will there be in the future. That's just the way it is. It will mask symptoms nicely, kills pain, drops blood pressure, okay? Changes markers on blood work, yet the person still feels lousy. I hear that all the time. Well, my numbers look great, but I feel terrible. They say there's nothing wrong with me, right? How many of you in here have heard that kind of line before? There's nothing wrong with me. When in fact you know how you feel. Number 4, ill health is not in most cases age-related or genetics. We know that from the Genome Project several years ago when they actually discovered the DNA chain in the cells that's 5 feet long. That's the Genome Project. They studied identical twins. They found out that about 10% to no more ever maximum than 30% of your overall health in your lifetime has anything to do with genetics. They proved that by studying identical twins. One twin would get sick with a certain illness, they develop something, the other one didn't. Well, wait a second, if genetics is such a big influence, how come they both didn't get the same illness? And they dug deeper and found out why, and we'll share that with you. Number 5, familial history plays a very small role in your overall health. If your dad had, my dad had heart disease. Mom had thyroid problems, all the time. And so we've been groomed to parrot that because we don't know any better, right? And that's what we've been told. Well, if you had it, mom's gonna have it, and kids are gonna have it. Things of that nature. But one of the things that's never discussed about what we inherit from our families is our habits. How our relationship with food and movement and rest and stress reduction and all these other factors that play a big role in how these bodies perform. You do not have a drug deficiency. I already touched on that one. Number 6, I already kind of hit on that one. True health restoration is possible for everyone in most cases. That's kind of reassuring. That's comforting. That's encouraging, right? To know that regardless of whatever the thing is that brought you here, that there's resources to correct it. That there's things that you can be doing over an extended period of time to improve your health. Traditional care has a 6,000-year history. That's kind of refreshing too, the stuff that I do. Nothing that we go through here did I develop. That's reassuring. I had nothing to do with me, right? There's a 6,000-year history of what herbs and whole food concentrates and the right dietary and lifestyle habits over time will do for people. Modern disease management only has a 110-year history. Did you know that? The disease management model of cut, slash, burn, and drug, right? Only been around 110 years. That's only 3 generations, by the way. But it's all we know. It's just all we know. And in our Nutrition 101 class that we do next week for the public, we go into more deeper information as to where that comes from and why. And last but not least, true wellness should be accessible, it should be affordable, it should be results driven and personal to the person. Modern medicine suggests that if all of you have allergies, you all have a claritin deficiency. Can't sleep? Must be an Ambien deficiency, right? And next, right? That's kind of the attitude. And I can assure you that every one of you could have allergies or not sleep well, and the cause could be completely, totally different for each one of you. And so we need an evaluation process that allows us to determine that, so it's personal to the person. There's some resources that you also want to be aware of to maximize results. This is kind of the mindset piece. You need to first understand that health restoration is a process, it's not an event. This notion that you can take a pill for the ill and you're fine is ridiculous. It's never worked, isn't currently working, nor will it work in the future. That's not health restoration. Cause of illness is either the absence of something the body needs, some kind of vitamin, mineral, enzyme, protein, amino acid, okay? And or it's the presence of something that shouldn't be there, some kind of toxin or some kind of maybe an immune weakness for a challenge of, say, viruses or parasites or something of that nature. But usually with most people, regardless of what the thing is that brought them here, it's a combination of both. There's a little bit of both going on. And our responsibility is to identify what that could be and then put them on the right program to correct it. The interesting thing, and fascinating to me anyways, number 3, your body's blueprint, your nervous system, knows exactly what it is that you need and exactly what's standing in the way of its performance, okay? And with a non-invasive evaluation that we use, your nervous system will actually come on display, kind of like pushing on a screen on a tablet. You bring things on display. Your blueprint, your nervous system will actually tell us where the stress is, what's causing it, and how to clear it. If you don't have the answer to number 4, you don't have a solution, you have a Band-Aid. You gotta know where the stress is. Is it liver? You gotta know what's causing it. You gotta figure out how to clear it. And so the smartest doc in the room really is the person getting evaluated. Each of you came here tonight with a thing, some kind of concern, physically, could be emotional, could be cognitive function, whatever that issue is, you brought with you that issue, but you also brought the solution. You came in the door with the solution, and this approach will help us identify what that is. And last but not least, we have to use the right support. Got to know what the right support is. What resource will deliver the results we're looking for. We can actually identify how much of a certain nutrient or substance, and then also for how long. So you're not on a basket full of stuff for 20 years, right? It's specific to the person. So here's what the initial visit in our office looks like, okay, to give you a frame of reference. The intake procedure and the educational resources we use, it does take about 45 minutes to complete the paperwork, okay, but you can take it with you, and you don't have to do it on the spot. There is a 2-page case history in that documentation. And the 2-page case history lets me know what you've done to yourself in the name of healthcare. Worse yet, what you've let others do to you in the name of healthcare. There is a system survey that is about 225 questions. You know, when you go to a clinic and they say, is it 1 is mild, 2 moderate, 3 severe kind of thing, fill it in. Most clinics that have those types of evaluation tools are maybe 20 questions, 30, 50 questions maybe. The one we have is well over 220, it's about 3 pages. It only takes about 15 minutes of that 45 to complete, because if it doesn't apply, you just leave it blank. But that form, if I just had that form only on you, I could pretty much tell you in terms of how you're feeling, how you're performing, what's going on, and give you a real good idea. At least I know where the stress is on the body. Don't quite know what's causing it or how to correct it yet, but I certainly know how your body's being overwhelmed by it. We use a non-invasive heart rate monitor. Gives us a snapshot picture of your nervous system. This is where things kind of get, at least for me, fascinating, because it's a little 5 or 6 minute stress test. And here's the stress. You got to be able to go from lying down to standing up. You can go from lying down on one of the tables back there to standing up, and it records that shift that takes place. It gives us a snapshot of your nervous system, so we know, will this person even respond predictably? How old are they on the inside versus their calendar years? And from that little snapshot picture of your nervous system, we can get some really, really good information, and we share that with you as far as, you know, you're not sleeping well, and here's how I know, and you feel racy on the inside all the time, or, you know, you might be having some dizzy spells, or, you know, even if you slept 8 hours, you're waking up tired. I mean, there's just all these little nuances about you that's in that little test, and it's very, very helpful in identifying and designing your program. Nutritional kinesiology, non-invasive analysis of that blueprint, the nervous system. How many of you have ever heard of kinesiology? Muscle testing, right? It's a very non-invasive yet very effective way to bring on display stress patterns in the body based on the neurological pathways that correspond to organs and systems. It's very scientific. Now, it can be strange for people like a 3-headed chicken. You've never experienced it before. But I'll tell you what, it is accurate as a polygraph. It will bring on display the answers to where's the stress, what's causing it, and how to clear it. You're looking forward to that, aren't you? I hope you are. And it takes about 10 minutes. Literally, it's a very fast and effective evaluation. We want to find out what your current status is, determine a course of resources that we need to take action on, and then, through proper monitoring over time, maximize your results by way of making sure you're using and executing on those resources properly. So it takes a while to get this all in place. Let's say that initial evaluation we find that the liver needs support, okay? We know from our clinical experience there's about 18 different stressors that can stand in the way of your liver's ability to perform that clinically can be cleared or addressed with nutritional therapy. But here's the top 7. These are the ones that we find on most people, or a combination of these things, almost every time when we start a program. The first is that the person needs the right digestive support. They're dealing with food challenges. They may or may not even be aware of it, but they're dealing with certain food challenges. And by a slight modification of the right digestive aids and a food avoidance for 90 days, that kind of combination of those two things, man, in a short period of time, they feel so much better. Immune system support, we all have exposure to viruses, bacteria, parasites, funguses, and unfortunately modern medicine says these guys are the bad guys. That's the bad guy, when the reality of it is that's pathology, and it's a living organism, and it's looking for a place to hide out. And if our immune systems are compromised, we are the host, can be. So when you address the immune support properly, guess what? Evidence of this activity disappears every time. That's how the body works. So this isn't the bad guy. These things, this is what's missing. Correct this and the others go away. It's really quite fascinating. 3 and 4 kind of go hand in hand. Chemical and metal toxicities. We find air, water, and food pollutants at an all-time high. These bodies by creation can eliminate those things naturally. Problem is they get overwhelmed. They become overburdened. And there's literally a list of like 100 different things that you can experience physically from just having an excess metal or chemical toxicity in the body. And there's oral chelation techniques you can use safely to help bring those toxic loads down. Number 5 is scar tissue. Topically on the body, open heart surgeries for people, the C-section procedures with women, the appendix, the gallbladder, spinal fusions, even tattoos and piercings can be problematic neurologically, and they've proven this from a scientific standpoint, that the topical scars in the body can create severe neurological stress, and that stress parlays into other dysfunction physically in the body, and it's pretty fascinating what can happen. I'm going to share with you a yoga instructor I worked with years ago that came here because of that one thing. EMF stress, electromagnetic field stress, and finally environmental support for people who have non-infectious allergies, meaning that you could have gone to the allergist, been pinpricked like they do. Oh, you don't have any antibodies for wheat, oats, corn, barley, rice, and eggs, or milk. And then you come in here and we say, well, you've got sensitivities to all these things. So non-infectious allergy simply means you're not producing an antibody, but you can still have a problem with it. And our testing allows us to identify it without being an invasive pinprick situation. And that's what we find on the first visit. You don't leave with a bunch of stuff to take, but we will answer all your questions and make sure that we have identified the right protocol. When we have you back for a second visit, then we give you what's called a program of care. It's a 4.5-page document, and it outlines in detail the structured yet flexible approach that we use for monitoring cases. See, every case, whether it's a dental case or an acupuncture case, chiropractor, they all have kind of a certain flow that they know if I can monitor a person this way, then we're going to, over time, produce the best possible sustainable results. And with this, it's the same way. With nutritional therapy, there's just a way of monitoring your case that makes you have the best results that sustain the longest, and in the process, you develop the new habits that will help you stay that way. So support phase is the first 4 to 6 visits. We call it the trial period. In 4 to 6 weeks, we know. We just know. We both know. Is this a great match for me? Am I seeing the results I'm looking for? Am I being as compliant as possible? Have I been turning in my food logs? All that kind of fun stuff. And it's a 15-minute visit. We do a complete nutritional kinesiology evaluation every visit. And in 4 to 6 weeks, we want to see about a 50% reduction of stress. In other words, from the standpoint of how you've been performing and feeling, that at least about a 50% improvement in that area that's noticeable to you. Okay? Doesn't mean you're well. Doesn't mean you've restored function. It means we're in the process of supporting you in a way that your stress is coming down and your body's not having to tell you about all this stress so much. Then we move you to the stability phase, visits once every 2 to 3 weeks. Usually we go up to about a 12-visit period of time, and I'll explain why here in a minute. But that just makes sure that we are stable. All of these habits are in place. You're getting the results you want. You're 75 to 90% improved in symptomatology. And then restoration phase, we see you once every 6, 8, or 12 weeks. Still a 15-minute visit. We just make sure that we maintain those gains, right? And the reason we do that is because it takes 3 to 6 months to get stable, and it takes 1 to 3 years to get well, period. Younger folks usually get there a little faster. Their healing tone in the body is a little stronger, so they usually see, most people that comes in and starts a nutritional therapy plan, they feel a shift in how they're performing in 5 to 7 days. But don't get faked out, because it's not the pill for the ill mentality. All we're doing is reducing stress. We still have to get stable and restore function. And the reason for all that is it takes that long to restore healthy habits. I can assure you the reason you're here tonight is because there's certain aspects of your habits with diet, lifestyle, stress reduction, and movement that aren't in place. They're just not on point. And our job is to help mold those to the individual so they get more on point over time, and that way you don't need us anymore. You just send us everybody you know and love. In that document, it's going to talk about nutritional therapy and the services. The actual nutritional therapy runs anywhere from about $3 to $5 a day. It's about $90 to $150 a month. That's for the actual supplementation portion. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Obviously, it depends on the case. Had a yoga instructor several years ago. She got here. Here was her complaints: chronic fatigue, insomnia, and headaches. Diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. Right? We did this evaluation, we found a scar. I said, where's the scar? She goes, I don't have one. To which I said, we got a belly button, don't you? Which, by the way, if you don't have a belly button, Archie, I can't help you. It's kind of a requirement. You need a belly button.
I have.
Oh, good, good.
He was looking right.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. I mean, I could look at everybody, but I just thought I'd pick on you. And so when we looked at the belly, because that's the original scar, okay? But when we looked at the belly button, above the belly button about this far, she had this little pink dot. What do you think it was? An old piercing that she forgot to tell me about, which is how we find out our most valuable information. We gotta drag it out of people sometimes. And I said, well, what's that? She goes, oh, I forgot. Me and 3 girlfriends 4 years ago were in Old Mexico, and to commemorate our adventure, we had piercings done. But she said, I took it out a couple of years ago because it was hooking on the clothes. It was kind of weepy. It just didn't feel right. She says, you think that's the problem? I said, let's find out. We tested it. It was neurologically, that scar crashed. It was active. And for $8 and a bottle of wheat germ oil, which is nature's vitamin E, she massaged it in that spot for a couple of minutes a day, twice a day. And in less than 6 weeks, no more chronic fatigue, insomnia, and headaches. Wrote me a beautiful letter and never had to come back. Because the rest of her profile is this. She's 35 years old at the time. She has an impeccable diet. She's a yoga instructor. She's not on any over-the-counter prescription medications, no tattoos, and never had a child. So the way to have an episiotomy or perineal tearing or C-section from childbearing. So they didn't have any of these things that stack up stress-wise that made any sense for her to have chronic fatigue, insomnia, and headaches. And it was a pretty amazing thing to watch. Now, my medical wreckage case. I call it medical wreckage because this lady unfortunately spent way too much time in medical land on the medical merry-go-round. Right? Well, see that specialist now. Okay, now go get that procedure done. Okay, now try that drug. Okay, now try that drug to eliminate the effects of the other drug, right? And this roller coaster merry-go-round kind of situation. And when she got here, she was on 17 medications. She was pretty gray on oxygen. And here's what happened. She was in the class just like this because she found one of my old handbooks that my father and I wrote that we used to give to clients so that they could go through and kind of figure some things out and do the different things they could do cleanse-wise and nutrition and dietary habits and all this other stuff. And she had one of those with her, and it was earmarked and stuff like that. And when I asked, if there's any questions in the class, which I'll do with you folks a little bit as well, she says, well, I just have a comment. This is one of your old books, and I found it in my husband's desk at home, who unfortunately passed away 2 weeks ago from cancer. And I found your book, and I saw this earmarked and all these notes and the questions, but he never got a hold of you folks. So I took it as a sign. And I just knew if I turned her case down, God would strike me dead right there. I mean, she's got the old book and everything. And so I said, okay, but we're gonna have these meds evaluated because there's not a person on the planet that'll ever feel good on taking 17 medications every day. Never. And so I sent her over to a doctor that we used to work with at the time, and they took 8 of the medications away from her on the spot. That's how grossly over-medicated she was. So they dropped her from 17 to 9 on the spot. She comes bouncing in here thinking that's all, she's like, I got rid of a bunch of them today. I'm like, oh, okay, great, here we go, because 9 is still too much, right? But she started working, and I'll tell you what, this lady dedicated herself to getting well. She made it almost a full-time job. She literally worked 4 to 6 hours a day. She learned how to prep real food, not drive-through food. I'm here to tell you, real food does not come through a driver door window. That's not real food. Okay? And she learned how to do that kind of thing. And she followed the program to the best of her ability. And we monitored her case. And it was pretty heavy. It was pretty expensive for 10 months. But in that 10-month period of time, this lady lost 53 pounds. She dropped all of her medications down to 3 of the original 17 at 1/3 their original dose. And she got remarried, moved to Florida, and wrote us a beautiful letter. And it's pretty fascinating. That's a spooky kind of case right there. I'm not looking for those kind, just so you know. I mean, we'll take them on, but I mean, it's work. I mean, it becomes a full-time job. When you've allowed your body to erode to that point where the only thing keeping you able to get up and go back to sleep on a daily basis is drugs, we've got some real challenges to overcome. So but she did it, and I was very, very happy for her. Services in our office, the nutritional kinesiology visits are $40. It's $35 for someone 55 or under. Children's also a discount, and if you're in the healing arts, it's also a discount. So it's basically like a copay that people are kind of used to when they go to a clinic. It's basically, we're trying to keep it so that, again, it's accessible, it's affordable, and most importantly, it's results driven. So, any questions? I always like to take 2 or 3, if I can, at this point, before we finish up. Go ahead. Yeah, I do.
I have many, but let's just focus
You can
on-
ask all 3 if you like.
Thank you. What do you think about the eating by blood type? I read the book, all of the books, and they
Yeah,
seem
eat right for your blood type?
Yes.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Blood markers, here's the problem with blood work. Did you know it's not standardized?
Right.
So if you go to CRMC or you go to the health area or Wyoming health offices and you get the same labs done, 4 things are gonna happen. Number 1, you're gonna get a report. None of the 3 reports look the same. Their formatting's all different. Number 2, the reference ranges are different. The optimum ranges are different. And all 3 locations will swear on a stack of Bibles they're right, and you need to do it our way. So I went through that. There's a better book if you're interested in that kind of thing. It's called Eat Right for Your Body Type. And that's a much more solid approach to that if you're interested in that kind of thing. And I've read both of them, and the Eat Right for Your Body Type has held up to be a much more consistent producing way of eating for people. So, yeah, good question. Anyone more? Yeah.
I'm right at the apex of going into rheumatoid arthritis treatment.
Yeah, a lot of pain. Yeah.
But additionally, I don't want to do prednisone. I don't want to do all this stuff, and I know that's what's on the table. How do I, right now, stop it from? Oh, I'm okay.
I know you're okay, but we, trying to be nice.
How do I prevent it from going down that road? I mean, 2 years ago I was competing nationally, setting records. I can't even move my arms.
She's a
up.
swimmer.
I can hardly.
Oh.
I can hardly lift my arms up.
Okay, so let me ask you this. And one of the beautiful things about nutritional therapeutics is that one of the sciences besides kinesiology that's performed is pattern recognition. Did you know that pattern recognition is a true science? It's a part of science. How many of you saw which direction the sun came up this morning? Probably in the east. Chances are
It's too cloudy.
it's too cloudy, but it still rose in the east. And it probably went down in the west. Well, that's a pattern recognition that's been going on for how long?
A few years.
Yeah, just a few years. So that's pretty strong scientific evidence that that's kind of the way it is. So I share that story because you're a swimmer.
Right, but I grow my own food. I go hunting. I go fishing. I don't. fill
Now let
my
me ask you
body up
one
with
question.
Junk.
Let me ask you one question.
What?
Did the pool have any chemical in it?
Of course it does.
Well,
but
hello.
it's a salinated pool instead of a chlorinated pool.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I don't know where I'm gonna swim without chemicals.
I understand, but here's what I'm gonna get at with you. Is we've seen people that had to be on TENS units. They were in so much pain.
Well, I'm beyond that, I think.
Yeah.
But, additionally, I think this.
Chemical poisoning will produce the type of problem
In
you're dealing
February
with.
2019, I believe I caught COVID from my uncle who had been traveling over in China and the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
It was before they tested for it. I had the Moderna vaccine.
Mm.
I broke out in a rash all over my torso. I had oral sores.
Mm-hmm.
I had tachycardia very bad.
Mm-hmm.
They told me don't have the second part of that
I
vaccine.
can't wait to take you through your evaluation.
Well, don't have the second
I'm
part.
super
They said
excited.
no mRNA type, you have to do the dead vaccine thing. So I then had 2 doses of the Johnson & Johnson, and my symptoms have all started since that point.
Yep. Isn't that interesting? So
Yeah,
I would,
it's
I would submit to
frightening.
you, it's very frightening. I would submit to you, however, the solution is that you're probably extremely toxic and still battling some type of immune support that's missing. You put the two combinations together and you can see a huge improvement in a matter of days to weeks.
Amen.
I hope so.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean,
It's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, because if you're growing your own food and it's organic and you, just 2 years ago, you were competing and setting records in swimming, and now you can't even raise your arms.
I cannot.
Yeah. And we see all this evidence of toxic exposure for the last 2 years. Forget the source. Forget whether it's a vaccine or forget if it's chemicals in a pool or whatever. It's overwhelmed your system. And so we're going to come up with the right solution for you. I feel pretty confident about that.
I've been in the pool.
You got to do your part.
I'll do it. I
Okay,
mean,
all right.
I've cut out sugars, the fried food,
Wow, this is good. I'm getting excited about this one.
gluten.
Take you back there and test you right now.
What else have I cut out? Red meat.
Yeah.
Even my moose that I got
Yeah.
this year, I'm
Yeah.
giving it away to
Yeah.
my neighbors.
But those things weren't the variable. Again, pattern recognition. Those things weren't the variable to begin with. What was the variable? You've been exposed to chemicals in pools for an extended period of time. That could be building. Immune system suppression. You got a virus, then you took more vaccines on top of that. There's a toxic pattern here.
I don't think I'll ever. I mean, I hope I get well, but I'm about to lose hope.
Do you believe you can get well?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't sleep well.
Yeah, I'll bet you don't.
I-
I bet you don't.
It's hell.
Yeah,
It's hell.
yeah. Well, I think you're in the right place.
I think so.
I really do.
I hope so.
I look forward to
I've
seeing
got
the
good-
results.
good support.
You do get good support. One more question? Yes.
Can I bring my 2.5 toddler here?
Yes, you may.
Awesome.
My youngest was 6 weeks premature, and my oldest right now is 96.
Okay, I took him to a naturopathic.
They all seem to like nutrition.
I took him to a naturopathic in Colorado Springs, and it's a $279 visit.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to
We,
be in
when we, and again, Leona helped me with this. She was instrumental. She was there from day one, January of 2006. I'll never forget. In a 9 or 10 month period of time, we built a situation up that was just amazing because of and it was really specific to one thing. I like to serve a lot of people for a low fee. Because then that allows me to do what I need to do, right, in my community. And, contribution is one of the top 3 things I think we can do in life. Besides character development and relationships, is contribution, so it's gotta be that way. And thank God we were able to keep our doors open when all this stuff took off in 2020, and we actually grew during that time, not because of fear, but because of faith in results.
Choice.
Yeah. All right, so your handouts, in your clipboards. You should have a couple of these little black cards. Please do not try and share with your family and friends what you've heard tonight. Because they're going to say, what about scars and stability, and it's going to take me a year and a half? What are you talking about, right? So just put your little name on the card and give them the card. Say, I went to class, you go to class. That's all you got to do. Right? First and third Tuesday of every month, right here. The green brochure you should keep because it's kind of a summary of tonight's class as a reminder of some of the key things that we talked about. It's always nice when nice people say nice things about you. We've given you a sample of some of the reviews that we've received over the years. We actually have a booklet that's 42 pages typed up front and back and we've got so many more we could do another book of probably 100 pages typed that people that have given us personal reviews, and we just let them sit in the file, and it's just amazing. Super blessing to see what's happened for so many people coming here and what this does for them. So, and then Share the Care program. I love to impact people with education, and I love to reward people who help me do that. So what we do in this office, if you host like a Share the Care where I come in and demonstrate this stuff on people and blow their minds and tell them stuff about them I didn't know I knew, we do like coupons, like gift coupons, right, towards services and things like that. So that go to churches and businesses and men's groups and women's groups and all that kind of stuff. The more education we can get in the community, the more people are empowered and know that this is available to them, the better off our community is going to be when it comes to health. And tonight, if you wish to, you don't have to, but there should be a form in there. It's kind of a public education form. If you wish to, by completing that and leaving it here tonight, the first 2 visits that I described to you are complimentary. There are no service fees for the initial evaluation and the follow-up evaluation, because I want to make absolutely certain that we're a great match for you and you're a great match for us. When you get into a situation where you're trying to maintain 90% success rates or greater, in the cases you accept, you don't accept every case. And quite honestly, if I'm not a good match for you, you shouldn't accept me either. That's what those visits are for, is to determine that. There's a couple of things at stake. Your health and my reputation we're not going to jeopardize either, and that's why I do it this way. We've been doing it that way for a long time. So, if you complete the attendance form, we will take it to the front desk. We'll send you home with your paperwork. You can take it with you tonight. Don't have to fill it out here. And they will also get you lined up for your initial visit in the computer, the best day and time that works for you and your schedules. And gosh, thank you for being here. Yes, please.
So I didn't get one in my little pack, and I'd like to fill out.
Yeah, and I need one as well.
Well, we will fix that right now.
Someone's dropping the ball.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna have to have words. There's one of those. Are you sure it's not in the very back?
Yeah, no.
These had them. I'll have to set this aside and let Kristen replenish it. Did you find it? No?
Nope.
Well, I'm not questioning you. Let me
I
get
didn't
it.
have my wife look, so.
Oh, if she didn't see it, then it's not
To
there.
be fair, I did not look.
You didn't.
No, I did
Thank
not.
you.
At the end of the